Hello, today is March 21st, 2020. This is my third video of this coronavirus series of the fact check. As of today, this coronavirus is still very rapidly spreading all over the world. In my first video, I predicted that by March 21st, this infection numbers in the United States will exceed 20,000. And I just checked the numbers a few minutes ago. The number actually exceed 25,000. And I think probably by end of day, it will reach 26,000 and maybe even 27,000. Which means that this virus hasn't stopped its very quickly transmission. It also means that a lot of people probably hasn't paid enough attention or take it seriously. So in today's video, I'm going to review, in the last video, I reviewed the timeline of the first few weeks of this coronavirus outbreak in China. In today's video, I will continue to review the timeline of this coronavirus in this whole world, how it spread out all over the world. Here, I would like to take Diamond Princess cruise as an example to study the contagious and fatality of this coronavirus. So on July 20th, this Diamond Princess cruise departed, and on the cruise, there is one 80-year-old man from Hong Kong, and he was later tested positive. And he basically left the cruise in the middle of his travel. However, this virus started to spread even when he left the cruise. So the confirmed cases increased from number of 10 on February 10th to 712 in total in March. So the total passengers on that cruise was about 3,000, which means that this one old man passed this virus to over 20% of the total population on that cruise within a very short period of time. So what we can learn from this case, the cruise, just for people who still wants to travel by airplane or travel by cruise, and maybe you should really consider avoiding, maybe canceling your trip right now. So what we can really learn that is, we know the cruise, it's a closed environment, and that share the central AC, right? And almost everyone share the same restaurant, and the infections also between the family members within one suite is very high. So if one person in your family is infected, it is very likely you're going to pass it to other family members if you stay in one room. And also, this demonstrates that the importance of social distancing, because 3,000 people living on that cruise live and almost like everybody having a big parties, because you dine together, right? You go dinner together, you celebrate together, and maybe we should really avoid that. And so in January 31st, so Italy stopped all the flights from and to China, right? However, that did not stop the spreading of this virus, because after just 1 week the Italians started to repatriate it from China and back to Italy. So a lot of people traveled from China back to Italy. However, at that time, the custom or the airlines was not really careful about testing or doing some precaution steps to avoid this virus. So potentially, some of them may have bring this virus back to Italy during that trip. And you will see that after February 6th, the infection numbers in Italy drastically increased. I think it was also close to exponential curve. And as of right now, March 21st, the infection numbers in Italy right now is 53,578 compared to 3 in a month and a half ago. And more importantly, the death rate in Italy is also stunning. The current total death number is 4,825, which means the fatality rate right now is about 9%. One of the reasons I think a lot of people also commenting in the news is that the medical resources is kind of like hit the maximum limit in Italy right now. The number of new patients every day far exceeds the number of people who recover. So because I think there are only over about 100 to 200,000 hospital beds, but most of them are used for other patients, not just for this virus only. The number of and also most the patients, the current coronavirus patients, are mostly living in the northern part of the country, so there is also very limited medical resources there. However, this disease does take a very long time to cure. So you can see another number that only slightly over 6,000 Italians recovered so far. So that lessons probably teaches the rest of other countries is we gotta put a very probably top priorities for doctors, nurses, and other medical related people. Make sure they're safe. Otherwise, once the number in other part of the country keep increasing, the medical supplies or medical resources may not be able to keep up. It's going to cause a dramatic increase in fatality rate if cares are not taken. So hopefully, through the previous examples, you will learn that this virus is very dangerous and very contagious. We need to take some serious actions right now. And like I mentioned in the last video, a lot of people are talking about the similarity between this Spanish flu and this coronavirus 19. So I would like to also just briefly summarize the timeline of this of the Spanish flu in the 20th century, early 20th century. And we can compare, are they similar? What can we learn? And what people did to prevent the transmission of Spanish flu at that time. So the Spanish flu actually originated from US, because the first reported cases was in March 1918 in Kansas, in an army base. And in the beginning, because at that time the travel was not as convenient as right now, and this virus didn't really spread and cause a peak until October to November of 1918. And after that, another thing we should learn from this virus is that there's always several waves, at least normally 2 waves of this spreading. So after the winter, everything seems to be mitigating a little bit. However, February to March 1919, this virus explosively spread all over the world again. And there's a couple of other small peak later on, but because people already be very cautious and had enough protection of themselves and understood the situation, so it wasn't as bad as the first 2 peaks. And according to the survey or statistics, over 30 million and possibly up to 50 million people died during this Spanish flu disaster. That's close to the 3% of the world population, and over 1/3 of the world population were infected. So this is how dangerous, how contagious it is. And in biostatistics, there is R0 value showing how much this virus can transmit human to human. And according to some of the most recent data suggests that the Spanish flu had R0 value around 2.2. And although we don't have a lot of data yet to conclude, but there are some scientists, there are a few papers, but most of them believe that the R0 number of this coronavirus 19 should be around 2.0 to 2.5, which is similar to this Spanish flu. And is also similar to the 2003 SARS, having about 2.3, 2.5 R0 values as well. And all of these data suggest that this, if no efficient and immediate action and appropriate action are taken, and we could possibly facing a situation very similar to Spanish flu. The good news is that thanks to the internet, thanks to more easier communication nowadays, new technologies, and also the medical technologies are much more advanced compared to that early 20th century. So hopefully we, with our correct actions, with everybody all over this world working together closely and helping each other, we're gonna most people won't be affected. So that's the hope, and that's the reason that I started to make the videos and share the fact and the knowledge of this virus and warn people about how dangerous, how contagious it is, so people would be more cautious and about the current situation. People may notice that I'm very serious today because I hear a lot of news and watch some news from also my friends share with me. It looks like the medical systems is in a very tough time right now because of the shortage of the medical supplies. And if you take New York City as an example, I think the infection numbers exceed 10,000 by today already. And it's going to be very difficult, very tough for those both medical people and also the patients. Therefore, I want to emphasize again, this virus is definitely not just a flu. Don't treat it like a flu. Otherwise, we will pay a very, very expensive bill for that. We should not do that. And I hopefully through today's examples, I share the Diamond Princess cruise, Italy, in US. I mean, some other countries are not in very good shape either, including France and Germany. But I'm not going to talk about that because I don't know much about those countries. I don't have many friends who share information with me about those countries. And I can only have limited time, so I want to focus on these examples. And let's see what we can wrap up today. So I want to emphasize a few strategies to mitigate the spreading of this virus. So first of all, I want to emphasize again is the social distancing. Not only just keep distance at work or keep distance at public areas, but also we should immediately stop any non-essential meetings, family gatherings, family reunions, parties, nonsense parties, particularly for young people. Because if you look at because when you're in close contact with people, that's when the chances of transmission of the virus is the highest. So we have to not just keep social distancing, but also avoid any contact, any chances of possibly spreading this virus. And particularly to young people. I know a lot of young people will watch YouTubes, and many old people because they don't have cell phones or computers, internet. But when young people are watching this, please take this seriously and understand how difficult, how critical condition we're at right now. And please share with your friends and your older people in your family and let them know also what's going on there. And also what you should do is, just like everybody here, we need to be more responsible and accountable to each other. So we should start take actions from ourselves. We need to immediately set an example how to correctly practice the best practice for social distancing, and also for any other ways to help mitigate this virus spreading. So another thing I was thinking is we should really start wearing masks. And another fact I forgot to mention is I need to improve my equipment so I can share my screen on my computer after I learn how to do it. Is everybody can Google online. Spanish flu face masks. Tens of thousands of pictures. Back in 100 years ago, people realized that how important wearing a mask is to fight against virus spreading. And what happened right now? We're living in 21st century. 100 years later, technology, knowledge, everything is so advanced compared to 100 years ago. Why people doesn't realize wearing mask is so important? So, this is very simple science. A simple mask will greatly reduce the chances of droplet transmission. It won't stop airborne, but it will dramatically reduce the chances of droplet transmission. So if possible, make some simple face masks or buy the surgical ones, and also leave those critical N95, N99, N100, either it's medical or industrial. Please share it with the medical personnel because they're in danger also right now, and they're the first responder. They have to protect themselves because doctors, nurses, they're not replaceable. You can produce fast masks in a few days, but you cannot produce doctors. So their lives and their safety are of our important interest. So we have to protect them. So I strongly recommend that if you have any extra N95, please donate it to your friends, your local hospitals and local communities. So again, thanks everybody for watching, and in tomorrow's video, I think I already emphasized the current status almost all over the world right now. And tomorrow's video, I would like to probably share some of the best practice I learned from my friend in China at that time, because Wuhan was in a very dangerous situation at that time. So a lot of people, medical experts, and they taught people how to do the best practices to prevent the spreading of this virus. So I will probably take a couple of videos showing what kind of items you need to carry when you're going outside, and what you need to do when you return home to prevent bringing these virus back home and may potentially infect your family members. So I will also probably do some other videos reviewing about the scientific facts, and possibly, if people still don't realize how dangerous, how important this is, I'm going to use some of the rumor, very, very serious rumors. I don't believe 100% of them, but there are some of them may scare some people. Hopefully, they will become more careful, more cautious about the current situation right now. And again, thank you very much, and you have a safe and happy weekend. Thank you. See you next time.